agenda as developed in the Ursula's recent letter to the leaders. Second, the leaders accepted Enrico Letta's challenge of moving from an incomplete single market to one market for one Europe. This is urgent and must be done in 2026 and 2027. Also, we all agree with the importance of moving forward quickly this year with the 28th regime for companies to make sure that our companies can operate seamlessly across our 27 member states with a simple and single set of corporate rules. Third, I heard agreement that in some sectors, like telecom, we should allow for a degree of company consolidation to achieve the necessary levels of investment and innovation. This should be part of a kind of social contract to ensure that the consolidated companies do invest more and do innovate more. The leaders want truly European champions to emerge in strategic sectors. The ongoing review of merger guidelines plays an important role in this. Fourth, on electricity prices, the energy transition remains the best long-term strategy for Europe to achieve strategic autonomy and lower prices. But we need pragmatic solutions in the meantime, concrete solutions that focus on specific challenges of member states and some industrial sectors. Working closely with the European Commission, we will look at concrete measures in our next European Council in March. Fifth, on protecting strategic industries and reducing dependencies. There is a broadly shared understanding about the strategic importance for Europe to protect and reinforce certain sectors. I heard being mentioned defense, space, clean tech, quantum, artificial intelligence, as well as payment systems. We will map and identify our dependencies and tackle them through a diversification strategy. And on European preference, I feel that there is a broad agreement on the need to use it in the selected strategic sectors in the proportional and targeted way, after in the depth analysis to identify where is necessary and useful. Sixth, there is unanimity that Europe is open for trade and that an ambitious and pragmatic trade policy focused on diversification is in our collective interest, and we need to continue to support the excellent work made by the European Commission. Finally, no question about it, Europe lacks investment. There will be no competitiveness without more investment. Our focus today was mostly on how to mobilize private investment. And I was pleased to hear an unanimous support to accelerate the Savings and Investment Union. Europe needs a single and efficient financial system which can better turn European savings into investments in Europe. But public investment will also play a decisive role. And here we need to have a conversation about the role of European instruments in the context of the multi-annual European budget negotiations, MFF, but nobody knows what is MFF. Okay, the multi-annual budget of the European Union. Let me conclude by recalling the ultimate goals of all our efforts: economic growth, industrial innovation, quality jobs, affordability. Now, we will turn the results of today's discussion into concrete commitments and timelines in the European Council in March. After that, we will focus on delivery. And let me be clear, in 2026, Europe will deliver. We did on defense last year, we will on competitiveness this year. Thank you very much.
Madam President.
Yeah, thank you very much. One Europe, one market. This was indeed today the headline of the discussion, and this is our ambition. One Europe, one market. We want to be there at the end of 2027. We had an excellent discussion with the leaders today on the broader topic of competitiveness, and indeed, to answer to this ambition, we have agreed that next European Council in March, I will present a One Europe, One Market roadmap, an action plan that shows very detailed what are we going to do with timelines, with targets, and with a clear limit of time also to deliver. And the ambition is that we will have this document committed and agreed by not only the Commission, but also the two co-legislators, that is the European Council and the Parliament. We have more or less 5 building blocks for this One Market Pact. The first is indeed reduce administrative burden. So this has different layers, and it has, of course, the European level, but also the national level. First of all, it was important to acknowledge 10 omnibuses are on their way. 3 have arrived at their destination, but 7 are still on their way. So we need now the co-legislators really to speed up to bring them over the finish line, because this means 15 billion euros of cutting red tape for our companies, for our economy every year. Second, we will, after having done the omnibuses, and more will come, do a deep house cleaning on the acquis, present on this one a plan with first proposals. I said we will look at all levels. We have to crack down on gold plating. Gold plating are these extra layers of legislation, European legislation, but done individual by member states, so that as an effect you have European legislation, but 27 different realities in the member states. We want to crack down on this gold plating. This means less directives and more regulations, because a regulation sets one clear goal for all 27. And my ask is and was to the co-legislators to propose and accept only strictly technical delegated acts or implementing acts. We have too many delegated acts and implementing acts, and these should only be technical definitions. We will introduce sunset clauses for laws, so that we also have a certain time after which there's a sunset clause on a law, and the legislator can decide on whether to continue or change completely the law. And finally, there will be once a year a report to the European Council on the simplification progress and on the cost reduction. That's a simplification. Second building block is building one market. Indeed, when companies want to scale up in our market, they face difficulties because of the fragmentation that our market of 27 has. And therefore, we will propose the 28th regime, EU Inc. we call it, before the March European Council. This is the principle that wherever you are in the European Union, you can digitally, within 48 hours, have an EU Inc. You can operate it completely digital. And it is one single and simple rule across the whole European Union, therefore the 28th regime. We also agreed building one market that not only needs to be there, the 28th regime, but also the Savings and Investment Union, to have one deep and liquid capital market. And here we agreed that we want to be done with phase one of the Savings and Investment Union. That includes the market integration, the supervision, and the securitization by June. If there is not sufficient progress by then, we will consider to introduce enhanced cooperation. That is that at least 9 member states, if they want, move forward faster and decisive to be more ambitious. The enhanced cooperation, theoretically, is also very interesting for the 28th regime because you can make it more ambitious. And if not all 27 immediately want to move on the 28th regime, we could go into the enhanced cooperation. Get me right, I preferred by 27, but these two enormously important building blocks that really have to advance now, and therefore there is, as a fallback option, potentially the enhanced cooperation. We need European champions, and therefore the merger guidelines, the draft will be presented in April, then comes the consultation with the member states, but we are very clear that we need European champion, that is merger guidelines that allow for the global market and not only for the European market. And finally, we will present the Industrial Accelerator Act, including a European preference, before the next European Council for strategic sectors on the basis of solid economic analysis. The third pillar is building one energy market. Here, on one hand, we have to strengthen the infrastructure, mainly also the grid and the cross-border energy. The grids package is on the table of Council and Parliament. There are two in our roadmap for one market. We will have a timeline set for the grids package to be done and to be agreed. We will implement European energy highways. The first energy highway has just been agreed. That is the Bornholm Island with the Baltic offshore wind, now connected to Denmark and to Germany. A huge improvement of offshore wind that was initially only national, but now can be used as European resource of energy. So infrastructure is one part. The other part is the market design. Here we had an intense discussion about the effect that, on average, if you have renewables last year, they cost 34 euros per megawatt hour. Nuclear cost 50 to 60 euros per megawatt hour, and gas cost 100 euro per megawatt hour. And the discussion is intense. Why our merit order system in the very end takes the most expensive resource, and this is the price-setting mechanism then. We did not come to a conclusion. I want to be very clear on this one. But to the next European Council, I will bring different options and findings on whether it is time to move forward on the market design or whether we are still good on this market design. And we will come, as planned and as it is in the law, with an ETS review. Fourth pillar is the digital. We agreed again here, the Digital Networks Act. You mentioned the telecom merger possibility. That's in this DNA, Digital Networks Act. It's on the table. We will have timelines in the roadmap so that it moves forward rapidly. The same goes for the European Business Wallet. That will make it possible that you have a unique digital identity and a single channel of correspondence as company with governments and with all 27 governments in the European Union, an enormous step forward on digital simplification. Here too there will be, as of March, a timeline to proceed. And finally, looking forward, there will be the proposal for tech sovereignty package. This includes a CHIPS Act 2.0, a Cloud and an AI Development Act. Last point on the digital, we also looked at the infrastructure that we need for high computing power. You know, we have the AI factories. We will upgrade them to ecosystems of AI gigafactories. And here, too, we discussed the enormous response that we got Europe-wide for our proposals, and this we will launch in June. Last but not least, an important pillar, this is not within the one market, but it is trade, which is, of course, of utmost importance for our market. Here, the leaders were very supportive on swift implementation of the newly agreed trade agreements. It is Indonesia, it is Mercosur, India, and Switzerland. And, of course, very encouraging to continue the work with future agreements, be it ASEAN, Gulf states, or Australia, for example. I finish here.
Thank you very much. I will now open the floor for questions. The first one goes to Rob.
Hello, I'm here. Rob Herbout for VRT, Belgian television. Yesterday, industry leaders in Antwerp called for lower energy prices. They want it as soon as possible, but if I understand you well, you will come with proposals for the merit order in March, with a review of ETS in July. This means that energy prices will not go down in the near future. What is your answer then to the industry? When will they go down?
So energy prices have to go down. They did go down already when we see where we came from the energy crisis that was unleashed by Russia 3 years ago. But they have to go down more because they are structurally too high. Why are they structurally too high? There are two main reasons. There are other side reasons too, but two main reasons. The one is our dependency to import fossil fuels, and therefore we are dependent on the global market prices and the volatility of the market prices. And as I just said, the cheaper, more secure, because homegrown energies are nuclear and renewables that we have here homegrown, and that provide us also with energy security because it gives us independence. So the discussion is indeed, why is the system coupled to the gas prices? And we will look into that. If there is a change, of course, this will have an enormous effect on the energy prices in the very end. But I must also say a second leg is very important, and that is the infrastructure, because the cheap energy produced by low-carbon sources needs to go where it is needed, when it is needed. This is the most important principle. And with a lack of grids, with a lack of interconnectors, this cheap energy cannot flow to where it's needed, when it's needed. So full focus on that topic, and indeed the energy prices must go down.
Okay, next question goes to Barbara.
Thank you. Barbara Moons, Financial Times. To follow up on the ETS question, some leaders asked not just for a review, but even for a suspension of ETS. Are you considering that, and how do you address the concerns of the companies that have already moved ahead, that they might have a first mover disadvantage? Thank you.
So the emission trading system has clear benefits. It's always important that we look at the effects. It is a market-based system. It is technology completely neutral. It says basically if you want to pollute, you pay. If you don't want to pay, innovate. And this is what happened. It has been introduced in 2005. And since then, the emissions have gone down by 39%. the sectors covered by ETS1 have grown by 71%, so decarbonization and growth can go hand in hand. And there were revenues of 260 billion euros generated, partially for the European level, it's a smaller part, mostly 78% for the member states themselves. The European part is reinvested in innovation and was one of the drivers that our industries are partially world leader in clean industry and innovation. So the ETS has also elements that if the price, for whatever reason, is going too high or the economic circumstances are tough, that you can, with the market stability reserve, modulate the price. So certainly topics where we will look into when we will have the review, and we have to look at other elements that might be of importance. For the price itself of energy is very important. The first part is, of course, the energy source itself, so the gas price, for example. But then you have grids fees, network fees, they are quite substantial. Then you have the taxes, the national taxes, and then only comes the emission trading system. It is from member state to member state different, the composition of these four elements. So some member states have higher taxes, some have very low taxes. In some member states, ETS is higher, in others it is lower, etc. So as you see from my words, it's a complex element. But as I say, ETS has its benefits. My last comment, if I may, the emission trading system created a whole industry of clean tech. And this industry is, and they were also yesterday in Antwerp, the power sector, for example, is also very vocal by saying we have invested in decarbonization. We rely on the fact that we want to be climate neutral by 2050. So we need also the reliability on your side that our investments pay off.
Just to add, because need to be fair, it's true that there are some leaders who don't like ETS, but there are several leaders who like ETS and took the floor to defend the system. Then that's the reason, because we need to continue our discussion on this issue.
Okay. Next question goes to Irini.
Hi, it's Irini Kostaki for Cyprus News Agency. First of all, President, there's an urgency. How fast can we really do things, and will the enhanced cooperation bring more fragmentation in the end? And a general question for both of you. As regards the single market and the 20th regime, a proposal brought forward from LETA, but we also have applicable since 2004 the European Company Statute that took us almost 30 years of negotiations to finalize. Since we're talking about simplification, why can't we just amend things faster, and we need more tools to negotiate from the beginning? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I will work to avoid enhanced cooperation and to ensure that all the 27 member states agree in the common regime. This is our first goal. If it doesn't work, of course, the Treaty of Lisbon offers several solutions. One of them is the enhanced cooperation. Second, is precisely because we need to offer to companies, new companies, and companies that exist already in the market, the opportunity to work across the 27 member states with just one set of rules and not several rules. Because when a company from Belgium wants to work in Italy or Germany or Spain, they need to work with 5 different corporate laws. And what we need, and to offer to the companies the opportunity to work with only one law, one only corporate law. If they want, because it's voluntary, it's perfect. If they don't want, it's not perfect. But what is important is to ensure that this 28 regime comes from a regulation and not from a directive. Because if it comes from a directive, it is not anymore a 28 regime, but a 28 regime with 27 different translations. Then we need only one regime then to boost the capacity for our companies to work across our market.
So I was told that the European company, as you said, 30 years or more of work in it, is very complicated. This is also a teaching lesson for us, what to do and what to avoid and what not to do. So the emphasis on one single and simple rule is very strong, and that's the ambition. What enhanced cooperation is concerned, as Antonio said, it's in the treaty. Often we move forward with the speed of the slowest. And the enhanced cooperation avoids that. As I said, at least 9 member states have to be part of it, but any member state can join any time. So if they say, okay, this functions, I want to be part of it, you can join. So it's an open door policy.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Jan, please.
Thank you very much. Jan Disseldorf with Süddeutsche Zeitung. One market sounds very good, but and you've talked about, President Costa, you talked about the sense of urgency that was present in the room and that is maybe more present than in the years before. Are member states really ready to pull through with what that means, which is fully opening up their services sectors, fully opening up their labor markets, and tear down the barriers that exist still in the single market? And President von der Leyen, you've said it yourself, a lot of the work has to be done at national level, and a lot of the work to complete one market is actually at national level. Are leaders really ready to fully open up their services sectors?
I think it's really a game changer. This council, this retreat, has been a real game changer, because all the leaders accepted and adopted the challenge proposed by Enrico Letta to move from an incomplete single market to one market for one Europe. In 1992, we moved from a common market to the single market. And now we are moving from a single market to one market. It's ambitious. That means a lot of work, first of all to the European Commission, then for the Council and to the leaders. But we accepted and we adopted this very ambitious goal to conclude by the end of 2027 this one market.
Yeah, the pressure and the sense of urgency is enormous, and that can move mountains. It was very clear that the leaders want to be very closely also involved in the speed of the delivery. I described that my goal is to have a roadmap that we sign in March. But besides that, we also have, I call it a living document, where you can track exactly where is a file right now. Has the Commission proposed? Is it stuck in Parliament? Is it stuck in Council? Is it on time? Is it not on time? So we create a lot of transparency about what is going on with the different files. And of course, this living document is not only for the Commission, it's for everybody. So the co-legislators, the leaders, also to keep track of the speed and of what we have promised. And I could sense today in the room that there was eager ambition also to be very clear that we will check on a regular basis where we stand, whether we are on time or whether there are delays and where they are.
And the clear sign of the ownership of the leaders to deliver on this is that we agree with the specific methodology. Because as you know, the European Council is not co-legislator, but all the leaders understand that they need to have a very close control about what it happened in the different formations of the Council. And for this, we are not only adopting this goal, we are not keen to discuss the roadmap in March, but we will also introduce a monitoring system that the leaders regularly make the check of the ongoing process to deliver by the end of 2027 this one market.
Okay. Thank you very much. This concludes our press conference. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.